From Svitek comes a weekly digital series where he shares his insights, concepts, and findings learned during his 15-year journey of working in the entertainment industry. Each lesson offers you a roadmap to overcome the challenges that all artists face on the path to success. Welcome to a Phil Svitek podcast.
Hello, I'm Phil Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and I appreciate you joining me for this lesson. The thing I want to talk about today is the idea of Sturgeon's Law, which is a principle that states 90% of things out there are going to be crap. That can include books, movies, paintings, technology, apps, software, food, you name it, right? This applies to all things. So there's a couple of perspectives we can take here in terms of how this actually impacts your life. But let's start with the consumer side, meaning you as the consumer versus you as a content creator for creating for consumers, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So from a consumer perspective, you have to understand that the landscape of things out there are going to be mostly crap, right? 90% of it is going to be crap. So you have to that's why now in today's day and age, especially with kind of more stuff out there, you have to we put a huge emphasis on curation, right? We ask our friends for recommendations. We go to Rotten Tomatoes to see if a movie's good or not. We check Twitter, other social media platforms and whatnot. So, I encourage you to kind of continue to filter, what you choose to give your time to, because we all know that there's more and more options, but if you don't kind of be selective over what you actually view, then you're just going to be consuming garbage, right? You want the best, only 10% is going to be really worth your while. Also, as part of that, don't be afraid to if you start something and it's really not your cup of tea, don't be afraid to kind of let it go. I think too many people, if they start a book or if they start a movie, they feel like they have this incessant need to finish it. You don't have to. You could put it away, right? So don't be afraid to do that. And also, don't be afraid to recommend to other people things that you think are worthy of their time. And one of the things I always try to do, I'm not always the most successful at it, but I always try to focus it from a perspective of, if you like this, then you will enjoy this. So that way, I'm not just saying I liked it, because it's one thing for me to like something, but I can recognize that something might be enjoyable for different people. If they like a horror genre, it might be for them, whatever the case may be. I'll give you an example. Spies in Disguise is a movie that wasn't necessarily my cup of tea. It was funny enough, but it's much more of unlike with Pixar, which is able to, transcend generations and kind of have a story for adults that they can appreciate. Spies in Disguise had more childlike humor, so definitely more for kids and they would enjoy it. And nothing wrong with that, but it just, I didn't find it as enjoyable as someone who's, let's say, like a 10-year-old boy might, So that's number one. Now, this kind of ties in to, this is where if we're looking at a Venn diagram, this is where the convergence happens between you as a consumer and you as a content creator. Part of your ability to be able to select the top crop of art in this, this is what I'm going to focus in on, is art. Because you as a content creator, you have to study art, you have to learn your craft in order to be able to make your craft. There's that great quote from Stephen King, "Those who don't read cannot write." And you can extrapolate that for all facets of content creation. And so you want to be studying the craft, but if you're studying crap, well then that's kind of what you're going to be putting out into the world. So if you want to be an author studying the classics and then, the various books that are now considered good and so forth, that's what you want to be studying. As a filmmaker, studying the great works of the past, studying the great works of today and whatever else. So that way you have, it's not to say that you want to mimic them, but you do have to, and going back to the Stephen King quote, you have to also see the landscape of what's out there, so you do have a point of comparison for you, so you avoid cliches in your own work, among many other things, right? You learn certain techniques, you learn whatever the case may be, right? Now, kind of transitioning fully into the content creation side of things, when we consider Sturgeon's Law, what you have to, a lot of people think they put so much emphasis on, particular things. And I'm not saying, in the grand scheme of things, that you should sacrifice quality over quantity, but you do have to know that you have to create a lot of work in order to reach quality level. You do. If you look at, let's say, someone like a Mozart or a Beethoven, like there's an actual Harvard study that's been done about people who we consider geniuses, and the thing that really separates them from everyday people to the status of geniuses is really this idea of the amount of work that they've created. Really, because if you kind of look at it, whether Beethoven or Mozart, the things that stand the test of time, that's like, it's probably really 10% of the work that they've fully created throughout their whole life. Some of it may have been public, some of it, for their own kind of pleasure, and they're like, throw it out, right? So in essence, it is the more you create, the greater your chance of creating something of true value. Right? That's the way I interpret Sturgeon's Law, and we have to kind of go about it. Now, again, it's not to say you have to put all, you don't just create work with the idea of I'm just getting crap out. Like, you have to have an intention for the work that you are creating. It can't just be like, I'm going to create crap just to get it out of me. No, you have to always try to produce the best work you can. And, 9% of the time you will fall short. But also, to that point, that's where revisions come in. Right? So whether it's revising a novel, continuing to polish a script, a movie, whatever the case may be, a musician rewriting, that's what it's all about. So that way you can you can chisel away the bullshit and you're left with what is truly good, right? And in fact, if you want to kind of take this to the conception phase, when you have an idea, whether it's for a product, a series, a novel, a movie, whatever the case may be, it might sound revolutionary in your brain, but it's actually not. It's actually riddled with cliches, right? Hence why, going back to the idea, you have to study the craft so that way you can know what is cliche about it and what's not. Well, and then it's not to say you throw out an idea right at its conception phase, but you do have to work to finesse it to make it not be a bullshit idea, to make it the best idea it can be. And you do that through examination and so forth. So part of Sturgeon's Law to me means continuing to work, and the more you work, the better work that you will produce. It's about understanding that initially the things that you work on will be crap, so you have to revise over and over again. It's learning from masters within your craft, so you recognize what is good, and not being down on yourself when it doesn't work out, because that's you could call it the law of probability. Like, more than likely it's not going to go in your favor, but that's where this idea of you truly enjoying the process has to really be a part of it. If you don't enjoy the process of making any of the things that you're making, well, then you're never going to get to quality, because it's a grueling road to get there. It just is. I mean, it's called Sturgeon's Law because it's not just like a guiding principle. Like, you can see evidence of it throughout any sort of thing, life in general. Anyway, this might sound like a downer, but I don't intend it to be. I really want to kind of empower you to just keep going. When you feel like, oh, what I'm creating is not good, well, just keep going, because you can get to that. But it's about perseverance and understanding that the road to glory, the road to success, whatever you want to call it, is a long one. It's very difficult to create lasting work in this world, but this is how you do it, is understanding this principle and just continuing to do things that you want to be doing and getting better at it and better at it and better at it, studying and so forth. Anyway, that is how I interpret Sturgeon's Law, but I would be very curious to know what you think of it. Maybe you agree on some of the points, but not all the points. Let me know. Let's converse. And also, how do you apply it in your own life? You know, knowledge is knowledge, right? True wisdom is applying the things you know to your actual life, to the things around you. And so I'm very curious to know, you know, how are you going to now apply this within your own life? Because that after all is what it's all about. So please comment down below and let me know, because I'm very curious. I want to converse with you. And if you haven't subscribed yet to this, please do so. That way you get all the various things that I'm doing, because it is my full intent to continue to deliver you quality content with lessons you can apply to your own life to help make your journey a little bit easier. But anyway, I truly appreciate the time that you have taken to check this out. I hope it has been beneficial, and I hope to see you next time.